how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
You look cute with your pigtails and out in the wilderness.
Yeah, really. This
Awesome.
is my hiking pose.
Yeah, that's nice. That's awesome. Good for it. The weather looks good. That's awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully the connection will still be good. I'm
Yeah,
actually, it's out in the middle of nowhere, so normally it's pretty good, but you kind of never know, right?
right. Yeah. So let's do it
Yeah.
quick. So I'll be on.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if it basically freezes, we'll call and we can do it again, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just gave you a very quick introduction about sort of your work being around nostalgia. And I'm thinking especially now at times when people are getting back to a lot of things that are nostalgic, like, baking bread and doing their gardens and sewing and stuff like that. You must find there's a real interest and a demand in your work as it brings back those same kind of memories through COVID.
Yeah, I think it's kind of two parts. It's there's a demand, there's also my own kind of space as well, and trying to figure out what to focus on. And it's for me, it's focusing on the half full glass and looking at the good parts in life because we're surrounded with so much bad that now
Yeah.
people are looking at nostalgia in a way of like, oh yeah, that was great. Like, remember when that it's possible to get back to that time. And when I curate in the work that I've been working on the last couple months, it's all about that. Let's find the good parts in life. So I launched a new series of pieces this past week on the 1st. There are about 12 pieces that focus on that. So baking is part of that. Cooking is, of course, part of that because it's very profound. But it's also laughter. It's also about going biking. It's sharing time with people. It may be social distance, but it's still there. Or it's looking at stuff that remember how it was and how it will be again. So yeah, it's all that is nostalgia past and defining where we were in the past, where we are now. Like it's all kind of interconnected. So yeah, it's kind of been
And
pretty
so
rough.
your pieces are a combination of sort of collage and I know prints from postcards, some of your own personal prints from your own photo albums and stuff, and then you also do some painting and work on top of it, right?
Yeah, so my process is I've accumulated a lot of ephemera, so music, vintage postcards, um, and vintage wallpapers is a big base of the work. And
Oh,
then
cool.
I'll do a layering of that, and then I'll do one anchor image that pivots onto that. So it kind of plays all the pieces together. So here, so there's this piece is Wonder Woman. So she's the pivot, right? She's
Oh,
the
she's fabulous.
yeah. But underneath there is writings by Maya Angelou and vintage postcards. And so it blends the pieces of empowerment and strength and resilience and plays into the anchor image of Wonder Woman. And that Wonder Woman is from a graphic, like a comic that I found from the 1950s. So it's an older kind of style. So
Yeah.
it's all, yeah, it's putting together the old pieces and then creating who we are today using that. So
And so is Wonder Woman in all of your pieces within that series, or is it really just more what she embodies that's kind of captured with the rest of
she
the pieces?
embodies as part of that. So I'll show you. So this piece, it's like show and tell. Remember show and tell? When I was
I
a kid?
loved it. I got to be in front of the class.
Oh, great. Never kindergarten. It's all the same.
Yeah. Yeah, we're reverting back.
So the
Marjolyn,
diet,
tell us about your piece today, please.
yes, I can talk about it. So show and share. Yeah. So it's the same kind of sense. It's the same kind of theme of empowerment and strength, and the woman diver diving into that space. And then there's Maya Angelou stuff and some handwritten notes and that kind of thing. So it's all about taking that sense of fearlessness and courage and moving forward. And I think that that's a big piece of who we are today because we've got so much around us that are saying, no, you can't do this and you can't do that. And for me, a lot of this is about stepping back at that and pushing back at that. And you and I are very good with that, right? Because we don't like no. When someone says no, oh, wait a minute. Why not?
Yeah. Well, I remember someone saying with our types of personalities, when you hear no, you really think, Well, no, it's maybe not suggested, but how can we actually get around that and do what we want to do? But I think that in this kind of environment, you need a bit of that, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have a roadmap, so you need to figure it out.
Yeah. And so that's where that type of work is pretty relevant to today, where when we look at, for my artwork, it's all about looking at it like, what would be the vision? What is the next step? What can we take from there and inspire us to move forward and remember to laugh, or remember to take a step of fearlessness and courage and just step into it and do it. And that enables us to keep moving forward. And that's really what art is about, right? It's all about trying to find a space of pushing us into another place. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I love your videos where you actually show your process and show how you're working. And I think it's really, again, it seems like a very, something that we would have done kind of in the olden days. We're pulling all these pieces together. I won't say scrapbooking, because of course it's way more sophisticated than that.
Mm-hmm.
But the layering and the physicality of like laying down the collage. And I don't know, I think it's really, really interesting to watch you do that. And it's kind of calming to watch.
Yeah, scrapbooking, a lot of people ask me if it's like that, because it plays in that role of taking mementos and putting pieces together. But the way I work is that that's the first layer almost. So I'll collage images and the materials, and then I'll do layers of tissue paper on top of that. The tissue paper suppresses it and pushes it back, so it becomes almost a subtlety. It becomes the underlayer, and then it's the hook. It's the image on top. What do I want to pop in? So the POW of Wonder Woman or the diver, that's the anchor image that drives the story. But underneath, like memory, right? We all have this memory of what's underneath that percolates sometimes to the top, and sometimes it gets to the back, and it's always embeds and creates the bigger story of who we are. So that's really, it's scrapbooking, but it's taking it, a little bit more of a sophisticated step beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I can totally see that. And I think that you're right in the way that the memories kind of like bubble up to the surface. And I think with your pieces too, I find for me, the more I look at them, the more I see. When I first see it, I see usually the diver, the major image in the background. And then the more you look at it, the more you see the layers of the writing and the things like the wallpaper, the iconography and the quotes. And that's kind of what pulls you in and really makes you think about things.
Yeah.
Which I think is really powerful.
Yeah. And that's the resonance. That's the depth. It's the sense of, the depth of engagement and understanding of it. And it's not a quick read. I mean, the work is not a quick read. It takes time to absorb, because there is a complexity to it. So when I do art fairs and outside, art fairs are very casual and people kind of wandering through. And when people come in my booth, it takes a little bit of time and energy to step into the work and read it a little bit deeper. And then, the themes come through, right? The empowerment theme, or escape is a big piece of my work, and what that means of who we are today. So yeah, it takes a little bit of time, and the videos play a big part of that, because it gives a sense of complexity, and it gives a sense of, it's not just putting an image on top of another image. It's actually thinking about how those images connect to each other, how they inform each other, and how do they create a story. So
yeah. Well, and I think too, it's one of those things that the videos also allow your clients and your art lovers also to really kind of spend the time seeing the process and looking at the piece in a deeper way that sometimes, especially in an outdoor art fair, is hard to do,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, the beauty about being in an art fair is that you're there talking about your work. So similar to what we're doing, right? It gives me the opportunity to draw people in and say, this is what this is about. And then when people take time, and I really do think that people are looking for that. They're looking for a little bit of a deeper engagement. And I would imagine after the COVID nightmare is over, that will be even more so, because a lot of meditative kind of sense of essence of who we are. There's this real... Yeah,
things have shifted for sure.
Things have shifted. And so it'll be interesting to see how people engage after, when we're through this and we're out there in the public again. But yeah, for the moment, it's been a digital kind of interaction with people, and Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives and emails, and I email every week to my client base, and more often than not, I have people responding to that. So that's never been really that way before. So there is this interaction. There is a desire to connect with art
And the
art.
time. Like, I think maybe there's a time too. Like, people have the time now to read some of those emails where in the past when you're busy, you're like, oh, I'm going to check that because I want to come back to it. And then it gets so far down your email trail, you sort of forget about it, right? And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
people are taking the time for those things that make them feel good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, part of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So you obviously have originals and prints on the ArtWalk in the Square store.
Yep.
And where else can people find you?
At memoryartgirl.com. So just click onto the website, and if you give me your email, you get 20% off the first purchase. And yeah, and then I'll be in touch with you, and see me on Instagram at memoryartgirl, and on Facebook as well. So yeah, it's
Okay.
easy. I'm out there.
Well, sounds great. Thank you so much for your time. And I guess you're back in your studio today, are you?
Yeah, trying to work on some actually shipping pieces out, because with the launch of the new work, so that's actually been good so far, and those will only be available till October 12th. So when you go into the originals on memoryartgirl.com, they'll be available then, and then they'll be shifted around to hopefully sold or shifted to interior designers and galleries. So it's a short period of time. So, and I would strongly urge for people to support their artists, because if you don't support artists, there will be no art next year. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's very, I mean, artists certainly are supporting artists and purchasing when they buy. When they sell something, they'll purchase other artists. But I think, yeah, a lot of art lovers too. If you've been sort of on the fence as about whether or not you're ready to buy, now's the time to really pull the trigger, help support your communities in the same way you're supporting your local restaurants and stuff, because it's a tough slog for artists right now. And it can just really bring so much joy into your life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we will talk to you later.
Bye, feed.
Okay, bye.
Bye.